Hi, hello, vanakkam, namaskar, and welcome to season 2 of my podcast series, The People I Meet. My name is Jeyakumar. I'm a radio jockey from Chennai, and on today's episode, I am going to be introducing to you a diva. She is a superwoman. She is somebody who has done it all. She has got so many years of experience in the radio field. It's not even a joke. The kind of things that she does today, she has very seamlessly transitioned from being an on-air jock to so many different areas and mediums that are involved with the radio platform as such. She is an influencer, she's a blogger, she is a podcaster as well, and she does something very, very unique in her podcast space, which we are going to get into in just a little bit. But today I am so happy to be speaking to this person who is full of confidence, who is someone who is very, very outspoken, who is not afraid to voice her opinions and has created a league of her own. So very, very happy to welcome onto my podcast my fellow colleague from a different city, RJ Jain. Hi Jain, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Shruti. Vanakkam na solluven, and I miss Chennai. And when I came to Bangalore from Chennai after doing 9 years of radio in Chennai, I just miss, talking in Tamil. So vanakkam everybody. I'm so excited to be on your podcast. You're such a bubble pot of energy and positivity, and you're such a live wire. I love the way you dance. I love the way that, you're forever constantly doing something fresh. I love the vibe that you share on your gram, and I love your pictures with your saris and with your husband. It's just nice. It's just really nice to follow you back.
Thank you so much. It's always refreshing to have a conversation with a fellow colleague because, there's so much that happens every single day in our lives, right? And we're always thinking of, oh wow, so it'll be so nice to connect with them and understand where they come from, their journeys and things like that. And I have always told you about how I've sort of admired your passion for life, your zest, right? And every single time you speak from your heart and you're not afraid to show your vulnerable side, which is something that is a little bit of a rarity on social media today. So let's get started with that, right? So you actually are a podcaster. You come with years of experience, right? 9 years of radio just in Chennai, and you've been doing a fantastic job in Bangalore, and you love music, you love books, you love food, you love vlogging, you love so many different things. So what is it that makes Jane want to get out of bed every morning and do the things that she does?
So every single morning, ever since I kickstarted my radio career, whether it was in Chennai or in Bangalore, it's 12 years of radio, and then I started my podcast, which is an all-adult, two girls speaking about sex, hardcore sex sort of a podcast. So I began that last year. We're in season 2 right now.
Right.
I've been vlogging and I've been doing a lot of things. But the reason I wake up every day is I am a regular middle-class Indian girl with a regular family background. I did my engineering just like 90% of us Indians do in urban centers. And I decided, I have to do something that makes me stand out and that also makes me happy at the same time. So I'm an artist who's never bothered about what is the money that comes out of what I do, what's the sort of response it will get. I'm not basing my life on the money or the pursuit of happiness, in terms of only the material sort of things that I get out of doing my job, right? I do it because of the pursuit of true happiness. Like if I wake up and I feel I want to vlog about food today, I want to find out where the best biryani is in this part of town, where the best pork ribs are, say when I go to Goa, or where you get the best sort of saris if you have like a traditional Indian wedding to go to, where to get the cheapest jewelry. I'm always looking for interesting content which drives me happy. And if it makes me insanely happy, then I believe that bit of happiness will rub on somebody else. Mm-hmm. And this is how I live. And I think it's a very carefree life because you're not bound by money or, the standards society puts you in, like the stereotypes that they try and fit you in, the standards they set. No, I set my own standards. I break my own stereotypes. I wear what I want to wear. And I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I'm vulnerable. You're right about that. I've gone through so many ups and downs. I'm single, I'm divorced, I'm 36. And these are things I never used to talk about. But I finally started embracing myself as I am. Mm-hmm. And I think that authenticity is what keeps me alive and awake.
I think that's very beautiful, and it takes quite a lot of courage to admit that in the first place, because like I mentioned earlier, right, we all come from a certain place or from a certain conditioning, right? Like you said, you come from a middle class, you have that, and understand that these are the sort of stereotypes or the boxes that society tends to fit us in, but you decided to set your own standards, and I'm sure it wasn't an easy journey. But today, when you look back, Jane, is there anything that you sort of wish that you would have done differently?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I am extremely unapologetic about who I am, and even the mistakes I've made, I think have made me who I am. So when I go back and look at anything, either the way that my career was shaped or the way that my personal life has been etched, or across all these years, or the way that I've stood out and, been bold and unapologetic about who I am, I don't think it would change anything, because I told you, I wake up and I say, I'm going to do this. Sometimes I sleep with like depression, because that is something that most people these days, especially post-pandemic, have recognized and understood. But then I'm someone who just wakes up and decides, no matter what that previous day was, I'm going to rewrite the next day the way I want to rewrite it. So I really don't want to go back and change anything. If at all, maybe I would have loved to have like one foot in Chennai and one foot in Bangalore. I would have loved to have that sort of an existence. But sadly, because of, because of working in the city, which also is like filled with opportunities, can't come home as much. So I would want to change that a little bit.
Right.
Apart from that, I think everything is good. All's good in the hood.
I think that's also important, right? Because I think somewhere, when we look back at our journeys, right, whether it's you having been in the radio industry 12 years and counting, or whether it's me just thinking of, I didn't realize that it's been 4 years since I joined radio and I was doing something before that. When we look back on our journey, there are so many things that we've checked off our checklist. Right? I'm sure we all started off with starry eyes thinking, this is going to be the dream. This is going to be this. We're entering into a world full of opportunities. And I'm sure with the countless interviews that I've done, I think I recently read somewhere that you've done 3,500 plus interviews, if I'm not wrong. I saw it in one of the...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
right?
I actually sent it out to someone, because I have worked for 12 years and on an average, I have met at least one new person a day. Right. So I'm saying, let's not count all 325 days of the year. On an average, even if I did 250 days into 12 years, that'll approximately tantamount to that kind of a number.
Yeah, and it's not easy, right? A lot of people, like even recently I had this conversation with someone about they wanting to become an RJ. Everybody's got the passion, everybody's got their heart in the right place, but they assume, right, that the job of an RJ is just to talk. Right? It's a seamless thing. You have a script in front of you. You just have to modulate. How do you sort of deal with those stereotypes or those sort of questions? I'm sure you've had those questions quite a number of times when you've,
a lot of people I'm sure asking me these questions.
Right. So how do you sort of deal with that, Jane? How does it sort of, how do you think of it now as to maybe, like how it was when you started off?
So when I started off honestly, and I will do a shout out to Suchi. I was a huge fan. I joined as an intern in Radio Mirchi, and I had these stars in my eyes. I was, of course, working with the sales team because I finished my MBA in marketing.
Right.
I'd been learning degree before. But when I met her for the first time, that's exactly the sort of questions I had. What you're asking us right now, people are asking us, is the kind of I had. I'm like, oh my God, this is a larger than life sort of a personality. She wakes Chennai up, and that was a time when radio was it, right? The internet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I was like just in awe of this person, and I was sharing lift space with her. She didn't know I exist because I was just an intern, but she did smile at me. And then I met Mirchi Shiva, and I met so many others after that. And there was this penchant in me to do that, right? To go and to actually to experience this entire aura. And I did. There was Arbuka Shiva, who today is like a huge music producer as well.
Yeah.
So, Radio Mirchi honestly gave me the wings, and they had no idea about because I was just interning there. But I used to have these same questions. And then when I walked into the Chennai Live studio, which is where I worked for 9 years, for the first time, I was like in awe because it looked like a spaceship. And, it was like an aquarium, the studio. Vikram has worked there. Some of my colleagues like Sanu and so many others have worked with me there. When I went there for the first time, I never thought I would make it, right? That I'd be sitting on the side of that fish tank and people would be looking from the outside. But, I've always wanted to, talk about my experiences. I wanted to connect to people, and I've done this from a very young age. I think all my school friends said that I was the most talkative and the funniest in the group, right? So when I finally got around to doing it, I don't know how it happened. And then it just grew and it escalated. And then I started speaking about books. My first radio book show was something that was quite popular. In fact, even today, I go back and do a lot of books of that show. So when people ask me questions today, I'm like, yes, it is a celebrity sort of a life. It's exactly like how influencers are looked at today. And when people ask influencers, how do you become an influencer? There's no like shortcut, or there's no, just like a straight way to go there. It's not just the voice. It's not just the, background, but it's your entire personality. So when people ask me questions, I really try and tell them what I do, because I tell them some of them today just want to be content creators, right? So if you want to create content of any sort, I would believe anybody who asks me the stereotypical questions, be authentic, be real, have some sort of a plan. My links are still very long, on radio. So I think I'm more a podcaster than like a talk podcaster than just a regular radio jock. So I would just say that, to everybody who asks me this question, and who stereotypes the role of a radio jock as you just go putter, putter, mutter, mutter. There's so much more thinking, there's so much more research. There's a producer and a team required right now because of COVID cuts. Most radio stations are operating with jocks, doubling up as producers. But it is great that, this is a time that we get to rediscover ourselves. And I think creating content today has never been more like fun. So whether it's food, lifestyle, motivation, inspiration, I don't know, like Vines, TikTok, which is banned now, Insta Reels, there's always something you can put out there as long as you wake up and decide to shake that ass, move that body of yours and do something. That's it.
Right. I mean, that is coming from a true blue hustler. And I know that you do this. I have been in awe sometimes of the sort of stuff that you do, right? Even making this decision to do an adult podcast is not something that a lot of people would have immediately hopped on. But I also want to tell you this now. When you told me about this whole Mirchi Suchi story, I also want to tell you, I have been on the other end listening to 104.8 on my car driving down and trying to imitate you, because I've always been a fan of, people who can speak English eloquently, because I don't think that's an easy thing, to not have that accent, to be able to engage with that audience without seeing them. We just sit behind a mic and we're just sitting in a secluded environment only talking to ourselves. So it's so strange that today we have this connect thanks to technology. And I have been in awe of you from when you were, a jock in Chennai Live, and I've listened to you, and I'm so happy to see the sort of growth that you've had today, and you've influenced so many wonderful people out there to get up and hustle. So talking about your adult podcast, Jane, so how did that sort of decision come about? Because I know the pandemic has made us do all sorts of things, okay? We've done, even in fact, I started my podcast also during the pandemic. So how did you decide that that's the topic that you guys were going to choose? And tell us a little bit about what goes on behind the making of the podcast.
The Misbehave podcast is one of the funnest things that I've done in my life. And it's all thanks to my co-podcaster, who is like a extremely intelligent, very stimulating conversationalist sort of a woman. She's in her 20s, I'm in my 30s, and we always, whenever we met because of work, we always knew that we have this connect. And then I read a little bit of her blog, which is called Unfiltered Desires, I think. I mean, it's a very adult sort of a blog. And I said, you write so much about sex and hygiene and, so many detailed discussions on, how women should do it. There were a lot of discussions, and I realized that I'm someone who's read a lot on this, and I'm someone who's watched a lot of erotica, read a lot of chick lit, which has page to page, cover to cover sex scenes, and I've enjoyed it, right? So I enjoyed it from a practical perspective, and I've also dated quite a lot because I've been single in between relationships quite a bit. So I understood the practical bits of it. She understood a lot of theoretical bits of it. We decided to put it together, and we're like if two women in India cannot talk about sex openly and we're a population of 1.3 billion, then what the fuck cuts it, right? Nothing else. So we are so unfiltered. The first episode we shot, I remember we're two totally different people, two different generations, two different sort of ball games completely. And for the first time, unfiltered on, like a sort of a radio show where I could say fuck, shit, bitch. I could say all of this. And it's not just about the swear words, right? It's about discussing very intimate things. And why not? Why not discuss these things that are swept under the carpet? Why not be misbehaved? Why not be honest about, yes, I'm married, but I can look at somebody else. Yes, I'm, single and I'm probably dating 5 people at one time. Yes, I have a fuck buddy. Why? These are real things that are happening in cities, in smaller towns. Why can't we talk about this? So that's when we decided to do it. And ever since, there's been no turning back. It's been receiving a crazy response. I met an auto guy outside Empire, which is one of the restaurants, chains here, famous ones, who said that he listens to our podcast and he gave a shout out. So I think it's two girls understanding chemistry between each other and knowing that there are so many things people want to know about sex and they don't. So that is how we brought it together. But it's not just about sex. It's not just adult. We talk about our lives. We talk about what's happening in the world. We do discuss a lot of other things. It's just a chemistry and a camaraderie which we play off each other. We bounce off each other's ideas. She scripts most of the podcasts, but these days I've also jumped on board. And yeah, it's quite a naughty podcast. Like one of the most naughtiest ones that we did recently was about how to prepare for anal sex. And I don't think anybody will ever discuss this except if it's a cosmopolitan article or a Reddit sort of a feed, right? Or a thread. You would have read it. Are you talking about it? So these are things we decided to do.
Wow. And I mean, I think that comes from a place of a lot of being filter free. Right? Because today, I think all of us are very unapologetic about who we are, what the ideals we stand for, what are our thought process, what our thought process is sort of like, where we come from. All of this, we're slowly sort of breaking down those barriers and trying to have conversations about topics that are generally considered taboo. And what is more taboo than sex in India, and especially two women talking about it, right?
Or a Chennai punno or a Bangalore punno, are they actually talking about sex? The first thing people are like, is it real? Is it just scandal? Is it just gossip? No, guys, it's real conversation. So please go ahead and listen. I'm plugging our podcast on Shruti's podcast.
No, but I think, exactly. Because I think that's what we should be sort of talking about, right? Because at the end of the day, you were talking about how you guys have this casual camaraderie between the two of you. And to be a great conversationalist is not something that you can teach people. That is something that I've always understood, because very often in today's fast-paced world where we're doing everything via text or email or, other modes of communication, we very rarely stop and listen and actually have a meaningful conversation with someone. It is a little bit of a rarity these days. So when people sort of talk to you about conversation, right, what turns Jane on during a conversation? What is so important to Jane during a conversation?
So for me, it is very important to vibe with a person. I would call it a vibe check. So let's say with my co-podcaster, our vibe check is so similar. I know what she's thinking. She knows what I'm thinking. I know how we frame and form our sentences. But with a new person, since I'm back in the dating game, let me tell you, it's super important that the guy doesn't just look hot, wink, wink, but also can really have a conversation. So recently I was talking to somebody who I found cute, and we were just figuring out what makes a conversation great, right? And we realized we're both sort of dark and devious souls. Like we can discuss pretty much anything. I mean, even if I don't know something very intrinsically deep about, say, Marvel or DC or what this guy likes, like I'm just referring to that conversation like bikes and spare parts of bikes. And I don't know that. Willingness to learn, there's a willingness to come to like a middle ground where we discuss these dark and deviant sort of topics. I mean, I'm not talking about the topics that, I like headlined. I'm just saying anything. We could talk about a series and go on for a while. We could just talk about the weather and go on for a while. I think conversations are about great vibes, and I've been told that I can catch the vibe of a person. So, Shruti ta pesnuna, I know that if I were to talk about, say, for example, dancing, right? And like when you're sitting and when you're doing those adas and all, I'm sure I can never do that. I would love to understand where that emotion comes from. So I know that as a dancer, you are passionate, you're not just trained, but you have something that comes from your gut, right? So if I would have a conversation with you, I would love to find out about where that comes from. Similarly, if it's somebody else and it's their interests are different, I would like to kind of find out where that stems from. Yesterday, I spoke to somebody who's a trauma therapist who's on my show today, and everybody has had different sorts of trauma in 2020 and 2021. Trying to understand what a trauma therapist does, like what can they do to help somebody become better. So another overall or a manushyaniko or like a girl will have a sort of a well of information based on their likes and interests. So I think a conversation, for it to click, you need to understand where they're coming from, and you need to kind of match that vibe, and you need to vibe well in that direction, and you can talk to anybody.
This is a pro tip that everybody who's listening to today should definitely include in their diaries, whether you're dating, not dating, whether you're thinking of dating, or even just striking up a conversation, right? Because I completely agree with you. Understanding what the topic could be, or the vibe check, like you rightly called it, the millennial generation would prefer that term. Absolutely, that is so spot on, and I think that is what makes you a great conversationalist. Because you understand the pulse, and you've been in this industry for so long, so you sort of understand what would make a great talking point and what would be beneficial from a listener perspective as well, because that's something that we are also always ingrained, right? I think it's in the back of our heads. We always think of, this would sound nice on the show. We're always at work, even if we're not working. So getting back to talking a little bit about your journey as an RJ, as a blogger, as an influencer, as a social media marketer, because you also do a lot of campaigns for brands and things like that, right? So there are so many different aspects or so many different character traits of Jane that you bring into each one of them. What is that one commonality that you think exists across all of these different facets of Jane?
I think, the one character trait that is common between everything is authenticity. And this is something I'm reiterating on, because many people have asked me, are you overdoing it? Especially in the pandemic, I've decided to wear whatever the hell I want. I have decided to talk about any topic that I feel like. I've decided to expose both sides of my personality. One side is a little serious. The other side is very frivolous and extremely flirtatious, just as a person, right? So I think I've always been very authentic, and I've been true to who I am. But of late, I think I'm extremely authentic and very unfiltered through everything that I do. So if I make a mistake, I don't edit it out. I'm like, it's okay, I made the mistake. I'm human. Everybody else does. I'm not like a flawless robot programmed with AI to just feed Alexa-like information. No, I am programmed to be me. You are programmed to be you. So if you're authentic about what you really are, who you really are, and you just lay it out there, people relate. Like, so many women have written to me in the last couple of months about me speaking openly about how divorce is a taboo. In spite of all those problems, it's not like I have a sob story every day. No, I'm not going to go to, blog about a place, a new restaurant I'm at, or a new bar I'm at, or a new brand I'm tying up where we're talking about intimate washes for men. I mean, it's something I've never heard of, but I'm saying whatever it is, that is my work. I may not take my personal life there, but I would feel that my professional life, whatever I do, it has to be authentic. I can't have a sob story all the time, but if I'm sad, it'll show on my socials. It's okay to be yourself. It doesn't matter that you're being honest, but you gotta snap out of it as well, right? You gotta wake up, you gotta do your shit, as they call it, right? Smell the coffee, wake up and, do whatever. So I think authenticity, be true, be honest, be you. And even if you're glamorous, that side of you, let that be truth in it. Yeah, let there be an unfiltered, non-filter sort of a day. Let there be a filter sort of a day. Experience every part of your personality. Be authentic to every part of your personality, because I think there are 9 people who live in every person. I believe that. I'm Gemini, so maybe there are 18. I don't know, but explore every person who's in you. Be authentic to that person, and that is the only way that you can cross-straddle in a content world where everything cuts across. Like today there's Instagram, yesterday was TikTok, tomorrow there's Insta Reels, day after there might be VR. So if you have to like constantly cope, and I'm in my 30s, I think I have the energy of an 18-year-old. I wake up and I want to know what that 18-year-old is up to. Right. What is the sort of technology they're using? I'm not tech savvy, but I try and learn. I try and understand. If today, Reel, the whole, what is that? Remix on Reels is in, I want to find out those Reels. So I think it's to keep up with the trends, to be authentic, and to just completely embrace yourself as you are. I think that is the biggest thing that I do.
Yeah, and I think that character trait is, comes through, or I think the right word would be shines through in everything that you do. Because I've also always believed in this, especially coming from the radio background, where I think one of the first lessons that someone told me was, you can never fake it. As much as they say, fake it till you make it, even on television or in front of the camera, it works because you can cut and, do a retake or do how many other retakes. But on radio, it doesn't work like that. If you are not authentic or if you're not true to yourself, it will reflect.
The two things that women can fake, one is an orgasm. Please don't do it. It's not a good thing. And the other thing that you can fake is like a picture perfect smile. I believe in that. Like, I think I can put a camera in front of me and just make me smile, and I've got that perfect smile. Right. These two things you can fake. But radio, like you said, you just cannot fake. Content today, you cannot fake. I mean, if you fake it, people will know. Look at people like Kusha or, some of the best content creators out there. All the ones have grown in lockdown. I've spoken to some people like Raj Shamani, extremely motivational. His reels are at some 2.5 million. When I spoke to him, the only thing he said, and every other content creator that I've seen today says, is just be you. That's it. Work hard and hustle harder and making yourself a better version of yourself. Just compete with yourself. Who you were yesterday and who you are today should be just two new people, if it's possible. But with the same sort of ideals and ethics and motives and whatever. And that's what I believe in.
No, and I think that is very true, right? Something that I also truly liked about what you said was, as we grow, right, whether it's professionally or personally, we have this cycle of change and we learn to adapt with the times, whether it's technology, whether it's, a new software that they've brought about in our workplace. Even if we're not tech savvy, that willingness to learn and keep up with the trend, I think that is something that sets the hustlers a little apart from the people who are very comfortable with where they are, and that's also absolutely okay, right? There's no need for a divide.
Okay, wherever you are, man. I mean, absolutely. Like you said, I know someone and I met someone recently, and this is like a totally different point of view. Okay, I mean, we're talking about content creation because that's the game that we are playing right now, but met this guy who is insanely comfortable with what he does. He's just focusing on his work. His socials are literally zero. The last post was 6 months ago. He doesn't give a damn. He probably scrolls through his feed and he checks out whatever whenever he has the time. But he's like a person, and he said this, and I'm quoting this on your podcast. I don't think I've spoken about this anywhere else. A person who truly is achieving in life is not on social media. And I'm like, thinking, no, but the top 5 billionaires, the list just came out. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is there on it, and so is like Jeff Bezos. So, I mean, if you are social, but then that was his point. Yeah, they are creating platforms for people to create content, but they are honestly running the business, right? So, I mean, to run a business or to do anything in life, right? I mean, to really genuinely shine, if you don't have the perfect mix of offline and online, your life is going to be an epic fail. What is the point of being a person with 5 million followers if you don't have a life which is a real life, right? Like where you genuinely go smell the breeze, you go on a vacation, you do some meditation, you go work out. You and I have been working out of late. So we know that we have to have an offline life. I think that's important.
I think that line is also sort of something that unfortunately is blurring a little bit today, and we have to constantly keep reminding people that, hey, social media is important. I'm not saying no, but there is a life outside of it. And I think it's a very debatable sort of conversation, and I think it's something that we can definitely have a very healthy conversation about, and probably on a different note, we both should probably go live one day and talk about this on Instagram. But what I want to come back and talk to you about is Jane. 18-year-old Jane versus the 36-year-old Jane. Right, I'm sure that there have been a lot of lessons along the journey, and something that you truly believe in is that you're very happy in the place that you are. You're very unapologetic, you're very true to who you are, and you're very authentic. But 18-year-old Jane and the 36-year-old Jane, how do you feel you've sort of evolved as a person?
I think I'm prettier at 36 than I was at 18. Honestly, I was a gawky freaking teenager, and college கொஞ்சம் தமிழ்ல பேசலாமா? Yeah. So நான் காலேஜ் போகும்போது சத்யபாமா போனேன், and அங்க பசங்க எல்லாம் வந்து எல்லாரையும் figure non-figure அப்படின்னு they would have split, right? நான் அதுல வந்து non-figure அந்த டைம்ல. Okay, figureலாம் வந்து என்னோட பெஸ்ட் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ், பசங்க எல்லாம் வந்து ஏன் மூலமா figure-ட்ட போவாங்க. நான் வந்து கேட் கீப்பர் மாதிரி. That was me at 18. It's not that I look bad or anything, but it's just that I never took care of myself. I was just like studying. I was a nerd. That was me then. 36-year-old Jane gets hit on more than the 20-year-old friends that I have around me sometimes. And that's funny. And I'm not making it look like, oh, I'm so proud. No, I've really worked on myself, and I have, I think, evolved in a way that, I don't know, people should evolve, which is become a better version of yourself, like age like wine. Like, it doesn't matter the wrinkles and the weight and the love handles, all that will happen, but genuinely absorb life. So I think the 18-year-old Jane was the same naughty, innocent, I'm saying naughty and innocent because I think I'm still a mix of both.
Right.
It's the same. Inside, I'm still the same bubble pot of energy, but I think outside, many people have told me this. 18 ko 36 ko, like my ex-boyfriends have told me this.
Right.
Unna vachirukanondi. Miss panita. And I'm like, miss panita, sure, miss panita. Right. So all I'm trying to say is that, between 18 and 36, 18 going on 36, and I think I'm saying this on the record here, as long as I'm alive, I want to be the hottest 40-year-old in town. Like, that's 4 years and I'm working towards it. I really believe, not just the physical bits, right? I want to evolve with my personality. I want to travel so much more. I want to discover another side of myself. I want to genuinely, grow as a person. I want to be able to hang out with the I-Geners. That's what they call them. People who are now born in the 2000s and later. Right. I want to be able to hang with them. I want to be able to hang out with the people who are in their 60s and 70s and genuinely be somebody who can relate to all generations. So, Yanik Terinja, I think my elixir of youth, if you can call it that, is actually just having a constant curiosity about people. Like, constant. Right. It's like insistently, persistently there. எனக்கு வந்து தெரியணும், what is this person up to? What is their lifestyle like? What do they do? What turns them on? So for me, these are the things that turn me on. So now 18 to 36, I think I've evolved massively. But inside, I think if you ask any of my close family or friends, they will tell you that I am the same.
I think that also stands testament to the sort of authenticity factor that you were talking about, right? Your character trait that's been across all the facets of Jane that we see, not just on socials, but at work, in a personal environment. I think that is something that's very, very beautiful. And you mentioned that in the beginning itself. You said, I don't feel like I'm like an 18-year-old. I have the energy of it. I wake up, smell the coffee, and decide that that's what I'm going to do today. Right. So we've spoken a lot about the journey. We've spoken about the present. I want to know, you've also told me that you want to be the hottest at 40, right? Which is in the next 4 years, right? But when you, this may not, it's not a morbid question, but a question that I genuinely want to know from you, Jane, is what is the sort of legacy that you want to leave behind? And I mean it in a very nice way, right? Like, what do you think that people should remember Jane for?
As a bold woman who had the balls and the guts to live life unfiltered. Like, I don't know, I might start an OnlyFans account. I'm like, what is wrong with that? What is wrong with an OnlyFans account? I think I'm going to do that. I might do that. I'm on the verge of starting one. I think I want to just explore every facet of being a human, right? I want to be remembered as someone who took those chances, as someone who is, really unapologetic completely. Like, when I say I want to be unfiltered, I want to understand, like, what is it to be making money as a single woman through means that are not the regular means. Yeah, if I have an OnlyFans account and I put a picture of something which I normally don't put a picture of and I get paid for it, what's wrong? Tomorrow, if I decide to write a book which is just about my life, or maybe it's fiction, I don't know if I'll do this, but if at all I do it, why can't it be stepping out of the shadows and doing something completely different from what I've done? So I think because I'm Gemini, it has something to do with my star sign. For those who don't believe in star signs, I think it's just my personality. I want to be remembered as someone who dares to experiment, who dares to question the norm, who dares to, just sit there and look at people and understand why their stories are so all-encompassing and, beautiful. I want to be that person who just dares to question and be happy no matter what. Like, I have my shares of sorrows. Let me tell you, for every woman and man listening out there who's gone through pain and heartbreak and loneliness and dichotomy and, issues, I have been through every single one of that, just like other humans. And I want everyone who goes through that, right? Through those tough times, when you're financially not as secure as you need to be, when you are in your 30s and all your friends have like a fixed deposit which runs into crores, who have like 3 houses, who have like a fixed life. I want to tell people who are not like that, who don't fit into that norm, that it's okay. That it's okay to be you. That it's okay to live life on your own terms. I want to be that example of the person who, like my favorite writer Charles Bukowski was, experiments, get drunk on life, get drunk on alcohol, get high on anything that you think drives you forward. And, it could be anything for you. It could be racing, it could be, modeling, it could be business, it could be a startup. If it drives you, you got to go and risk it all, experiment, put yourself out there. I want to be someone who's, remembered as a person who went there, did that, and may have failed, but got up and did it again. That's what I want to be remembered for.
Wow. I have truly, truly, truly never had such a intense but flirtatious, but also a high energy conversation with someone the way I've had with you today. And I mean it in the most genuine way possible, okay? Because you know that I'm very honest, as much as I also believe in zodiac signs. So I am a Libran, and I'm very, very diplomatic when it comes to being, saying the right things and making sure that I'm honest, but also communicating what I want to say. You are somebody who truly, I think, fits into that unapologetic and unfiltered category. And I think you are paving the way for a lot of people to sort of live their lives the way they want to. And I think that is something that a lot of people today want to look up to. That's the sort of, we talk about role models, right? When we were growing up, we were always taught to be shy, demure, girls do this, girls behave like this, girls write like this, girls talk like this, girls walk like this. But today, cut to the sort of generation that we are in today, having role models like you, having people like you who are telling us that it's absolutely okay to be who you are and to be authentic, to be comfortable in your own skin. I think that is a beautiful thing, Jane. And thank you so much for being you and, just putting yourself out there for the rest of us to see. I know that today we live in a content creation world, right? And we have to move with the times. But sometimes when we sort of see the other side of you, the vulnerable side of you, right? We also sort of understand that all of us go through these days. All of us have those days. But it's also a reminder to get up, smell the coffee, and hustle through the day just the way you do. So thank you so much for being you. It's been an absolute bonkers of a conversation. I did not sort of expect this going forward. I knew it's going to be like filter free, but I really, really enjoyed having this conversation with you today. And the last question that I want to ask you, Jane, is this is something that I ask all of my guests. 3 significant qualities that you are proud of about yourself. 3 characters, 3 difficulties that you maybe overcame. It could be anything, with the number 3 that you are proud of about yourself today when you look at and you say, hey, I'm here and I'm proud about it. And 3 things that you wish you could work on. 3 things that could, sort of be on your vision board maybe, and you want to sort of work on yourself.
Three things that I'm super proud of is number one, I am going to do my first assignment with respect to plus size modeling for somebody who's never modeled for anything before in her life. So I'm going to be doing that, and I'm very proud of the fact that that is a characteristic that I embrace, whether it's Ashley Graham, Sakshi Sinbani, or some fabulous plus size content creators out there. Right. I believe in body positivity. I think that Ninglo Nano வந்து கொஞ்சம் குண்டா இருக்கறனால கியூட்டா இருக்கும். So அதனால that I'm very proud of, and yes. I think thick is in, thick is beautiful, and when I see you dancing, I'm like, இந்த பொண்ணு எவ்வளவு கியூட்டா இருக்கு, சொல்லி ஆறு ஒரு நாள் சொல்றேன் பாட்காஸ்ட்ல. That's the kind of, I believe in that body positivity.
Absolutely.
You look beautiful, and I'm working on that, so I'm very proud of that body that I have. Number two, this is my new mantra for 2020 and 2021. I kickstarted after a breakup, which really broke my heart, but I still love my ex as a friend, and it's all cool. But, it started my quest for a revenge body. But what started as a quest for a revenge body has led to a lifestyle change. I am a fit person today. I do have some toxic habits that I'm trying to break free from, which I will talk about on the vision board, what to work on. Right. But I think fitness has definitely changed my life. I feel freaking amazing. In fact, after this podcast, I go for a 2-hour workout. Today is my day off at work, and then I meet some of my friends before the lockdown ensues and stuff like that. But fitness is a big part of my life, and I've started really small. I do baby weights. My shout out to everybody is, even if it's 2 kgs, lift weights, women especially, because there's such a taboo against women lifting. Yeah, there's really a big taboo there. So I really think lifting weights, feeling that grind, whether it's at the gym or whether it is like Zumba, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do, you want to dance, you want to kickbox, you want to learn the basics of anything, just do it with some weights to understand the difference. It just makes, like iron, I read this in my gym and it's my favorite line, iron doesn't have emotion. So even if you're going through all the emotion in the world and you're going up and down, that iron helps you. And while I don't look like a bodybuilder yet, I told you 40 is the goal. By then, I want to be like one of my friends, Sonali Swami, who started bodybuilding at the age of 40. Right? And then she became a gold medalist and stuff. Like, I don't want to go to that extent, but I want to certainly be fit. So that's number 2, something that I totally admire about something that I've renewed in myself as a personality trait. And number 3, I would say, smile and wake up. Sometimes a smile is fake, sometimes it's real, but just smile. I love that. I smile a lot, I laugh a lot, I also cry a lot. But whether it's crying or smiling, show your emotions, not to everybody, but to yourself at least. Look in the mirror, talk to yourself, wake up, give yourself those positive affirmations. I do that. Sometimes in the night, I'm really sad. I'm just with my bottle of wine saying, why am I alone? Why am I not met the love of my life? And then I realized that maybe he's on the way, and it's okay. It's good to wait. Different people have different timelines. Tamil Nadu, DD போட்டிருந்தாங்க ஒரு reel. ஒவ்வொருத்தவங்களுக்கும் ஒரு different timeline. Like everybody gets things at different points of time in your life. So use your emotions in the right way. Smile, accept those emotions, and live your life as authentically as possible. Adu enoda oru characteristic. Nariya women who are achievers today, just like you are. I mean, you are so authentic, you're so real. You put in that big smile with that sari, and I don't know how the husband can keep his hands off a girl like that. So adunala adu sure adu vandu neenga pandringa na pandren, and I think whether you're single, divorced, whatever the hell you are, right, man, woman, child, just go for that authenticity and that smile and keeping your emotions alive. 3 things that I'm proud of about me. 3 things I have to work on. Dumb. It's very difficult to talk about it because I got hooked onto it very late in life, but trying to quit toxic habits. I don't drink as much. I mean, it's just socially drink wine, and I'm totally cool with that. But smoking is bad. It's injurious for health. Everybody should quit. So many women are smoking these days, and there is no man-woman thing these days. It's bad for the lungs. Everybody has lungs, and everybody needs to take care. So I'm definitely working on that. Konjama I'm trying, and I have help, and I have friends who coming in on board, and I'm talking about this because it's so taboo to even talk about it, but I'm trying to. Number two, something that I'm trying to work on is my love life, which is currently non-existent. No, actually, it's too existent. ரொம்ப நடக்குது. யாராவது கண்டுபிடிக்கணும். அடுத்த வருஷமாவது கல்யாணம் பண்ணும். But like I said, you can't force the timeline. I definitely want to meet somebody. I'm a very romantic person. I'm so romantic. Nobody understands this because I'm so open and I talk about sex and I'm so I'm really truly dichotomous. I'm true Gemini. Another on the romance department I want to find someone I can go home to and genuinely have like a beautiful relationship where I can be myself and yet be in love. It's a big craving. Anyone who knows me in my life knows that I am searching the love of my life. So love of my life, if you're listening, come soon.
You heard it here on the podcast, so please give Jane that sign. The universe is waiting for it to magically happen. So yes, we're manifesting it into the universe today.
Thanks, Shruti. நீங்க சொன்னீங்கன்னா the golden words 1 yearல நடந்ததுன்னா திருப்பி இதே பாட்காஸ்ட்ல இது அந்த ஸ்டோரி சொல்லதுக்கு மட்டும் நான் வருவேன்.
Yes, we'll have a brand new segment created exclusively for this and we'll put it out on Valentine's Day as a special. Or any day we will make it Jane's Valentine's Day and we'll put out her story. It will happen.
Number 3 most important, இது இந்த பாட்காஸ்ட் எப்படியாவது போனா நல்லது. The massivest crush on this boy called Arjun Das, which I have not had for years. Like I have crushes every day, okay? Because that's part of my personality. யாராவது பார்த்து crush இருக்கும். ஆனா இந்த பையனை நான் அந்த படத்துல பார்த்ததுல இருந்து அந்த வாய்ஸ் திருப்பி கேட்டதுல இருந்து அது ஒரு manifestation. I want to at least meet him once and tell him that I'm gaga over him. So that's like அது ஒரு major minus. ஏன் இந்த பையன் கிட்ட சொல்ல முடியல?
Right. No, we're going to find the fact that Arjun Das was my colleague and I actually replaced his show on radio was something that I never truly thought would come to bite me later on in life, but today, yes, definitely this is also something that we're putting out into the universe. And I know I've also told you this, I've shared screenshots with you of how of how we've tried to get in touch with the elusive Arjun Das, but Kudi Secretla, we will make that happen for you. Once again, I just want to say, Jane, thank you so much for this. The conversation was just absolutely nuts, and I think we've been very unfiltered on today, and you've shared so much about your journey with me in your true inimitable style. I don't think anybody could have done it the way you did, and that's what makes Jane Jeyakumar Jane, right? And that's what we love about you. Thank you so much once again for being a guest on my podcast and for sharing your valuable gyan and wisdom with us and making it sound like an 18-year-old.
Romba old ஆக்கிட்டீங்க gyan-nu சொல்லிட்டீங்க.
No, but I just said making it sound like an 18-year-old while you were doing it because you are 18 going on 36. So that's the mantra that we're going to keep for Jane, and I know that you're going to be the hottest 40-year-old without a doubt. So we will make that episode happen, like I said. So thank you so much.
40 turn பண்ணும்போது Shruti and I will talk about how being naughty at 40 is still such a thing, guys.
Absolutely. We've already decided our 4-year plan. It's on the vision board. It's gonna happen, and I promise.
Update big girls, beautiful, curvy, fit. That's exactly what we're both going to come at you when I'm 40 and Shruti is whatever that time.
Yeah,
okay?
we are going to be doing that. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, whoever was listening. The wonderful guest today on my podcast was the incredibly multifaceted superwoman RJ Jane. You can look her up on social media as Jane Jeyakumar, and trust me, everything that she does unfiltered, unapologetically by being herself. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I will catch you with yet another interesting episode, with yet another interesting life story. This is my podcast series, The People I Meet. We're on season 2. My name is Shruti Jeyakumar Vasant. I'm a radio jockey from Chennai. Signing off. Until I catch you the next time, take good care of yourself and stay safe. Thank you for tuning in.